Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and congratulations if you pre-ordered a Nintendo Switch 2 last week. The pre-orders were chaos. I went on Target right at 11 p.m. when they dropped here in my time, and on the app, I ended up checking out at 11:01 and got successful. So it took me like one try, didn't work out. It said like out of stock, even though they hadn't even really initially like let the stock in. So, you know, people probably thought it sold out in like 30 seconds, but I waited like 1 minute, and on my second try, I got it to go through. Congratulations for prepping your pre-order. So I will be receiving my Switch 2 console probably in like between June 5th and June 11th, they said that week. But usually that estimate means, you know, they're just playing it safe and they might actually deliver it on launch day. So I really hope that happens. But if you're here and you pre-ordered a Switch 2 as well, congrats. And you know, I had some questions like after I pre-ordered about how I'm going to transfer my data to my new Switch 2 from my Switch 1, or you know, like why some of the games to upgrade, like that I already have in my pre-existing Switch 1 collection, like why is this game, Kirby, gonna be like a $20 upgrade versus, you know, Tears of the Kingdom's a $10 upgrade, and even Breath of the Wild, $10 upgrade versus like some games that are more. So we're gonna look today at why that is, and a bunch of other FAQs, I think, like frequently asked questions that I'm gonna try to answer here as a little guide to prep you for your Nintendo Switch 2. Let's get into it. All right, so heading over to this webpage I found on Nintendo's official site. So this should all be legitimate, you know, information here. Let's hope. Important information about compatibility of Nintendo Switch games with Nintendo Switch 2. So let's check all this stuff out here. First of all, before we get to the games, we'll start with the system itself. Easily transfer settings from Nintendo Switch to Switch 2. Using the system transfer feature, you can easily transfer any digital games you purchased on Nintendo Switch along with save data. So this is important. Of course, you're going to want your digital library to move with you, right? But if you want, unless you want to start all those games over from the beginning, you know, you want to bring your save data as well. So let's see, how do we do it? So these are all the things from your Switch 1 that are able to be transferred to Switch 2 via a system transfer, which I believe is just, you know, over Wi-Fi locally. You have to have both systems like right next to each other on the same Wi-Fi. What you need for a system transfer: Nintendo account. You'll need a Nintendo Switch 2 console and a user linked to a Nintendo account. I have a Nintendo account, obviously. I'm sure you all do, but like I forget how to log into mine. The security is so intense. One time I think mine got hacked because all of a sudden I booted up my Switch like 5 years ago and I wasn't the primary account user anymore. Like, you know, you can have like a primary name to your Nintendo account. You can change that around via like whatever Switch you're using. If you have multiple Switches, which one is the primary account? I didn't even transfer mine to a different one, and all of a sudden mine wasn't the primary. So it was crazy. I had to like call customer service, you know, and get my Nintendo account back. And then I had to put like a bunch of like, you know, secondary two-factor authentication passwords in and stuff like that. So hopefully when I get my Switch 2 console, I can log into my Nintendo account pretty easily. And you need an internet connection. So yeah, the Wi-Fi part. So that'd be my guess, like right when you boot up a Switch 2, your new Switch 2 console, and you have your Switch 1 next to you, and you hook them both up to the same Wi-Fi, there will be like a prompt on the screen to say, do you want to do a system transfer? You know, or you can probably go into the settings. I'm surprised I didn't say it right here. But, you know, you go into system settings in your new Switch 2 console and do a system transfer there. I've done this before between my launch day Switch and my OLED Switch to transfer save data and things like that. So if you guys already know a little bit about that, it should be essentially the same kind of process. So that's all it is. You just go into your system settings on your console. There should be an option to do save data transfer, and then it'll be, you know, virtual game transfer as well. That'll be the new thing that I'm not sure how to do yet, but let's see. Let's talk about the games. You can continue to play compatible Switch 1 games. In addition to Switch 2 games, the Switch 2 can play compatible physical and digital games that were released on the original Switch. Free updates for these games. By connecting your Switch 2 to the internet, you can download free updates and improve resolutions, frame rate, or add support for features such as game share in selected games. This is the best. This is what I'm looking forward to the most, and the frame rates. So, being able to have free updates on some selected games, let's check out what these games are going to be. So these games are getting resolution and frame rate bumps. Yes, first-party games like Super Mario World, Bowser's Fury, that'll be cool. Open World Mario, you know, like 4K 60. Super Mario Odyssey ran on the Switch 1 at 60 frames per second, so that's already amazing. This is just gonna go up to like 4K, but obviously when I say 4K, it's gonna be maybe 1440p up-resed, probably 1080p up-resed to 1440p, you know. So some of the games might not hit complete native 4K, probably most of them. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, these are huge because these games have really choppy frame rate. To be able to have these games that were dropping from like 30 to 60 FPS all the time and get them probably at a clean 60, like most definitely clean 60 FPS, you know, maybe 120, like the way these games are made. They're not like huge open world, you know? So some of these games are gonna get some really good frame rates. Captain Toad, I never played that. I've heard it's good. Old Wii U ports, no thanks. ARMS, don't care. And last but not least, this is huge. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm so glad they put this on this list, which means they really are paying attention to it, because these games are notorious for having terrible frame rates, and that's why people hate them. Just like Cyberpunk back in the day. You know, Cyberpunk redeemed itself, but the content of the game itself, the story and the quests and the adventuring was never what people hated. They just hated the way it ran. And that's how I feel about Scarlet and Violet. I don't even think people hate the game. They just hate how janky it is, and then they like to make fun of it. But honestly, I love Pokemon, as you can tell. So I defend these games. Like, the games themselves are good. If they run at a pure, smooth 60 FPS, you can have fun playing these games, and I'm gonna do that. And if you don't, you wanna make fun of them, that's fine. I'm just gonna have a better time than you. And so I'm very excited for this update most of all. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I played Violet for like 100 hours, so I'm gonna pop in Scarlet on my Switch too. That'll be one of the first games that I go back to and check out with the free updates here. So besides free updates, let's check out upgrade packs. This is one of the most confusing parts of Nintendo's new generation here that they're entering, because they went from like very standard $60 games and only one game, Tears of the Kingdom, was $70, to now they're trying to change everything. They're moving the goalposts back and forth with the prices. You know, they're trying to make games $80 like Mario Kart World, and they're trying to make these Switch 1 games that were 60, they're trying to bring those up to 80. So let me explain that. Available for selected games, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is a bundle that includes original Switch games and its upgrade to make it a Switch 2, you know, enhanced game. So contents and enhancements of the upgrades differ depending on the game. They can include visual improvements, new features, or additional game modes. That's why some games are more expensive, like Kirby. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is like 3 years old, but it's getting actual like new DLC content. It's not just getting resolution and frame rate buffs like Tears of the Kingdom is. So this is not getting DLC, you know, this is. So that's really the point. That's like, if you look, why is Kirby $80? Why is it a $20 upgrade? It's because you're actually getting the Starcross World DLC, like new content, which is awesome. You know, Breath of the Wild got DLC, but Tears of the Kingdom never did. Too bad they didn't have it for this kind of event, you know? But Tears of the Kingdom was also already a $70 game, so it's $70 plus $9.99 to upgrade, so you got your $80 Tears of the Kingdom. That makes sense. Kirby was $60, and now you're getting new content and the resolution and frame rate buffs. $20 upgrade, like $19.99. It makes sense, you know? it's not like outrageous. Why is Kirby twice as expensive to upgrade as Zelda? Like, it's because they're trying to get to that point where like every game is $80. You don't have to like it. I don't like that either, but that's what they're trying to do. So it makes sense. Doesn't mean it's good. Anyway, the features and content of Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games can only be played on Switch 2. So you can't like upgrade and go back to your Switch 1. It's not gonna show you those upgrades. If you already own the original Switch game, either a physical or digital, you can upgrade to the Switch 2 Edition by purchasing the game's upgrade pack in the eShop. So the upgrade packs are always digital, in case you didn't know that already, you know. So even if you have the physical, you pop in the cartridge to your new Switch 2, it'll read it, and then it'll digitally give you that upgrade, just like in a PS5, if you guys have that, or maybe Xbox. I don't know if it does it that way. But I have so many PS4 games physically that I put into my PS5, and I've already bought, you know, the $10 or $20 upgrade pack, like for Ghost of Tsushima, and now it runs perfectly at like 1440p 60. After you upgrade, the original Nintendo Switch game can still be played on the Switch 1. Though the features and the content of the Switch 2 edition can only be, yeah, like I said, can only be played on the Switch 2. We know. Switch Online and expansion pack can download selected upgrade packs. So I believe the selected upgrade packs are the Zelda packs. It's Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are able to be downloaded for free. Well, it's not free, but if you purchase the expansion pack for NSO, they will be there. And I don't know if that means like, what if you just get rid of NSO like next month? Do you still get those expansion pack, or like, do they erase and you're back to the Switch 1 version of Breath of the Wild or something? That I'm not quite sure, but I highly doubt they would do that. I think you get the online subscription even for 1 month. If you download those upgrade packs, then they're yours, you know, forever. I hope. Anyways, but let's check out the official list of these games. I've been telling you about the ones I know, but let's see it from Nintendo themselves. Breath of the Wild, Switch 2 Edition. Improved performance and resolution. Oh yeah, and then I guess they didn't add DLC, but they added some new like accessibility options here. Zelda notes and stuff. Oh, and HDR support. That's amazing. Love to see that. Same thing here for Tears of the Kingdom. Performance and resolution. The little accessibility notes to help you out, and HDR support. Super Mario Party Jamboree is kind of a big deal. Upgrade details, new way to play, Jamboree TV, mouse control for the Joy-Con 2 that has that mouse feature. That's pretty cool. They're really trying to modernize Mario Party Jamboree because it's like the best one, I hear. And Kirby in the Forgotten Land, Switch 2 Edition plus Starcross World, a new story, Starcross World. And then you got the improved graphics and frame rate. So this is the only game on the list, as you can see, like I was saying, that has a new story. So that's why it's a $20 upgrade. And this one's 20 as well. And these two are 10. So that's the deal. Oh yeah, and then Pokemon ZA, Legend ZA, improved performance, higher frame rate, and resolution. That's what you're gonna get on the Switch 2, as well as Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, because these two are cross-gen. So they'll be out on the Switch 1, and they'll be out on the Switch 2, with support for mouse controls, up to 4K resolution. I can't believe what I saw from the Treehouse Live. They had this game running at 1080p, 120 FPS. And then the quality mode is 4K 60. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go. And lastly, how do you purchase the Switch 2 edition? You can either buy the actual physical edition. They're gonna come out with a new physical Switch 2 version, or you just do the digital upgrade pack like I was saying before. Here's the Switch 1 game that you own. You pop it into the console eShop. Here's the upgrade pack, and then you've got it. Equals this plus this equals this. Like, you won't really get the box. You know, it's kind of misleading. You won't get the physical edition, but you will, you know, you'll have the digital edition of the upgrade. And these are the two with the online expansion that you can get if you have the active membership. I'm just gonna see. You must own the original titles. It doesn't say anything about like if you cancel the subscription, what happens, but like I said, that would be just like robbery if they took it back from you, right? All right, so that's a lot of the important stuff. And then I wanted to go over one more thing because I got this Switch Pro controller and I was wondering, does the Switch Pro controller, will it work on the Switch 2? Let's check that out. Parental controls, I'm not a parent, so I'm not gonna pay too much attention to that. I never have to do that. If you guys have little Bowser Juniors around the house, you know, you can click that, check that out. But here we are, controllers. You can continue using existing controllers. That's huge. That's what I was wondering about my Switch Pro controller. The Nintendo Switch 2 comes with a pair of Joy-Con 2 controllers, and it's also compatible with Nintendo Switch controllers, such as the Pro controller and the Joy-Con ones. That's awesome. Cannot exit sleep mode on the Switch 2 using the home button on Switch 1 controllers. Huh, that's strange. So it won't have as much control on the home button functionality, but oh well. On controllers without a C button, which is the new game chat button on the Switch 2 controllers, you can start game chat by selecting the option from the home menu. So like any of these Switch 1 Pro controllers, they won't have that button. And that, I think, is about it for what I want to cover today. These are the kind of questions I had in my mind. Like, once I get my new Nintendo Switch 2 console, how am I going to tackle all this stuff? Hopefully in one day, and figure out, you know, what, like, I'm going to immediately get the Tears of the Kingdom upgrade and check that out. Probably Breath of the Wilds as well. So other than that, I'll just get the free download upgrades from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Mario Odyssey and all those other games I enjoy playing. So let me know what you guys are most excited about for the Nintendo Switch 2. And if you have any other questions, like FAQs about this kind of process here, transferring data or games, you can ask in the comments below. Other people might help you out and answer. I will also try as well to help you out if there was anything I missed here. So leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.